Today is the Holocaust Day of Remembrance, and with this story you'll only see on WDBJ7. Our Katey Roshetko is in the studio with us this morning. So Katey, you actually got to speak to a Holocaust survivor who lives right here in our hometown.
Yeah, that's right, Nisi. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to meet Nat Kranowski and hear his story. I also got to speak to family members of survivors and learn why they urge people not to forget the past.
Jacob Peskaski.
Pola Rabovich.
Anya Ashkenazi.
During World War II, 6 million Jews were murdered by the Nazi regime.
Yogav Kite.
Asya Pevny.
And Sveta Stitskin.
However, some Jews escaped the persecution or survived till the end of the war and now live on to tell their story. Nat Kranowski is one such hero.
I was born in France 2 years before World War II started.
Kranowski then shared what happened when the German Nazi influence came to France. His father, a Polish Jew, was the first in his family to be arrested in 1941 and taken to a concentration camp near Paris.
In 1942, the French police knocked on our door and arrested my mother. And I was there. This is one of the few memories I have as a 4-year-old.
At that time, Kranowski said children weren't being rounded up yet, and being so young, his life was spared.
If I had been arrested, I probably would be dead by now.
He lived with his aunt for a time before being hidden in the country by a couple of farmers till the end of the war. Then he was sent to live with another aunt in New York, the whole time never knowing what happened to his parents.
I wasn't even sure my parents were dead.
It wasn't until the mid-1960s that he discovered the truth.
I did some digging and research of my own, and it turned out that they died within 2 or 3 days of arriving in Auschwitz. Therefore, I assumed they did not die of illness or starvation, but they died in the gas chambers.
Family members of survivors also still live with the scars of war.
What I saw as her daughter was how those tragedies affected her. She had one loss after another loss after another loss.
Dr. Limor Glazer-Schwam and her daughter, Virginia Tech student Briana Schwam, can tell you that for their family, the war never really ended, as their family still carried the burden of loss everywhere they went.
I remember my family went to see the musical The Sound of Music when I was little, and when the Nazi flag came down, my grandma started running out.
And VT student Samantha Levy shared how her grandmother was just one of 33 people from her village in Greece to survive the concentration camps.
I mean, my Nona, my grandmother, never really talked about it. It was a very, very hard time for her.
So Levy shares her story to anyone who will listen, just like Kranowski.
My mission is to spread the word about the Holocaust, especially, as I say, to younger people, because I think they are the future and they are the ones who really need to hear it.
And between the Schwams and Levy, these stories will not soon be forgotten, because there's a bigger message at stake.
When it comes to something like this, when it comes to any sort of hate, any kind of mass genocide, you need to understand that you need to know your neighbor, and you need to learn about who they are, not just their religion, not the color of their skin. It's more about who are they as a person, and that's the way that we really end up stopping all of these horrific things from happening to people.
And I really could have spent the entire newscast just letting you hear the details of each of these people's story. Each one has a harrowing tale to tell. And Nisi, tomorrow I'm actually going to be sharing some more of their stories and how Virginia Tech will be honoring the Holocaust victims in a very special ceremony.
Yeah, it's just incredible, everything that those survivors have been through, and you know, really getting to know their story so that we don't forget those things, so we don't return to that point in time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Katey.